Big Séance Podcast, Episode 66, Reading in Your Dreams.
Welcome to the Big Séance Podcast. I'm Patrick Keller of BigSeance.com, and this is a place for an open discussion on all things paranormal, but specifically topics like ghosts and hauntings, paranormal research, spirit communication, psychics and mediums, and life after death. So basically, anything that pops up in my paranormal world. The candles are already lit, so you might as well come on in and join the seance.
The following is a blog post that I wrote on September 11th, 2012. I don't remember my dreams often. When I do, it's usually either on the weekends when I'm able to sleep longer, or those rough nights where you only get in a few hours of sleep before having to be up again. But recently, I've noticed a change in these dreams. It seems that I'm remembering more details, specifically reading things, signs, words, phrases, names of people, etc. One of the first times I noticed this, and in my dream I was very excited about it, I was walking down a street and noticed a storefront awning that was the deepest and prettiest shade of blue. The awning stood out to me, and it was clear that I was meant to see it. It displayed the word velvet in large print. I think I instantly woke myself up. I was so excited. I have absolutely no idea what velvet is supposed to mean for me right now. In the last week, I've had 2 reading in my dreams experiences that stand out. The specific details of the first dream are really irrelevant and random, but I observed 3 or 4 names, signatures really, of old classmates from high school. One of these names is not a name that I would have any reason to dream about, and I haven't thought about this person since my time in those halls. I didn't even know him well. The other few names were acquaintances whom I knew well in those days. I woke up remembering the names and specifically what their signatures looked like. And perhaps one of my cooler dream experiences was just a few nights ago and involved a friend and coworker's husband who passed away several years ago. In my dream, I was at the friend's house working on some kind of project for work. After working on it late into the night, I ended up crashing there. When I woke up, I found that my friend's husband, who appeared to be alive in this part of the dream, had left me sketches and notes in the margins of a packet of information that we were working on. He was apparently trying to help us out. It is unclear what the sketches were for and why, but I was able to draw the sketches from memory for my friend yesterday. What makes the details of this dream more important is the fact that before I woke up, he was right in front of me with the warmest light all around him. At this moment, it was clear to me that his spirit was right in front of me, and I realized that this was not a part of the earlier dream. He smiled at me without saying a word. I told him that he was loved and asked if there were any messages I should pass along. Once again, I really do think at that point I was so moved and impressed with what was happening that I woke myself up. I never got any messages after asking. Is it normal to read things and be able to sketch things from memory in dreams? And why have I noticed such a change in details lately? Several months ago, I read and posted about the Hue technique for remembering your dreams, but I only tried it a few times and haven't thought much about it since then. What does this all mean? So that was the blog post from 2012. Historically, it is by far the most popular post at BigSeance.com. If you're curious about the Hue technique, you can find information in a book about it online. Apparently, if you focus on and voice the word hue just before falling asleep, it will help you to remember your dreams. It's a vibration thing that has been around for years, and it's reportedly helpful in curing addictions and even insomnia as well. As I mentioned in that 2012 blog post, these dreams happened not long after I had briefly tried the Hue technique a few times out of curiosity. And since I don't dream often and haven't had many heavy dreams since then, it makes me wonder if it really works. Maybe I need to Hue a little bit every now and then. Well, you heard the blog post. Now I want to read some of the comments and feedback from this post. And one of the really interesting things about it being so popular is that it is obvious that many people end up having an unusual dream, a dream where words or a written message stands out. They wake up with it on their mind, and then they search reading in your dreams, or what does it mean to read in your dreams? And if you try Googling that question in just about any way possible, my reading in your dreams post is one of the first to come up almost every time. So I actually wish my post was more informative or more of a resource for folks, but several people have contributed their dream or thoughts on the topic. One of the first people to comment on this post in 2012 was Ash. Ash has a site called inmysacredspace.com, and it's a place for intuitive living for the spiritually inclined. She has a cool Facebook discussion group by the same name. Ash says, I've been able to read in my dreams too. I remember 2 times specifically, though it's been a while and I've forgotten what the messages were. Once was a newspaper, and once, which was just a month or 2 ago, was a dry erase board message from Patrick Swayze, of all people, LOL. It was totally an Eric thing. And I'll break in here because the Eric thing she's talking about, I'm pretty sure, is from the Channeling Eric website. Many of you probably are familiar with that. I dreamt 2 nights in a row about blog interviewees. The next night was Kurt Cobain. I remember the first time I did read something in my dreams, though, because I remember watching an episode of the Batman cartoon when I was a kid, and Batman was drugged by the Scarecrow, and he was in a dream world. The only way he figured it out was because he couldn't read anything. The newspaper letters looked jumbled, and they purported that you could not read in dreams. So naturally, my steel trap of a memory hung on to that episode of Batman, but not the actual information written in the dreams that I had myself. LOL. I've also had visits from the other side, like you describe, and funny enough, same thing. I asked him a question, and he didn't give me an answer or say anything at all, just smiled. I also woke up immediately. D, in 2013, said, I read in my dreams all the time. I read signs, papers, books, etc. However, I'm not talking to dead people or people I know. I have no idea who these people are in my dreams. I've been dreaming like this since I was a kid. It was really scary at first. I'm kind of used to it now. Another comment was left by JMount43. JMount has a blog called Written in Blood, and I'll include all of these links in the show notes. But JMount says in 2013, I was able to read in my dreams once. I was reading what I thought to be a vampire novel, but then the word Bella, followed by the word Edward, appeared, and I woke up screaming. I think I would wake up screaming too. Debbie, who is a psychic and can be found at debbiedakiwi.com, left a nice comment in 2013 and offered to interpret the dream I described in my original post. She said she's been doing it since she was a child, and it's a part of her culture. It was a lengthy email, but here are the highlights. Houses and buildings always represent you and how you see yourself at the time of the dream. So because you had an awning and saw a beautiful blue, it would suggest at the time of your dream you were feeling guarded or vulnerable, and the blue means you would get help from an outside source. It could be you found something out that changed the way you felt about something or someone and were feeling a bit vulnerable or upset. But then someone or something gave you advice or help. It could be that you were feeling bad about yourself being hard on yourself. You took a look in the mirror one day and didn't like what you saw, and it made you feel bad, but then someone cheered you up or did something for you that made you feel good about yourself. But whatever it was short-lived because the blue means help from an outside source to an old anxiety. The word velvet is an odd one because it would usually be personal for the person who dreamt it. Does velvet mean anything to you? Or perhaps it will in the future. Because to dream of reading anything, a book, a word, a pamphlet, etc., is a really favorable omen. It means happiness and contentment is coming into your life. If I was to put this bit of it together, along with the names of your school friends, it would suggest a relationship or romance coming into your life that will have you swinging off the light shades with joy. But it might not be easy going at first. It might be fraught with obstacles at the start. Anything to do with the school is a warning. For example, to dream of being a student is a warning to sever ties with someone you know you shouldn't be around, etc. But to see the names or people from your school days means your past may cause issues with your present. Someone from your past who wasn't a positive force might be about to come back into your life, or someone from your past might come back and bring trouble, or past issues present themselves that could influence your present. The house dream of you at your colleague's house doing work and you were comfortable and stayed over suggests an issue to do with your job might arise as well, but it is nothing that won't be handled. However, Spirit is coming to you and telling you that you have their blessing. Your coworker's deceased husband appearing to you in the drawings, etc., is Spirit saying it is time to get creative in your pursuits or ambitions. It sounds like there is something you're thinking about doing, but you're holding yourself back. Be it a person you're after or a project or ambition, but you're suppressing it, and Spirit are telling you to go for it. Whatever it is you're wanting, you go get it, and it will be yours. You are gaining insights now that are telling you not to fear the things you worry about. They are all unfounded worries, and you're holding yourself back from doing what it is you are meant to be doing. It all doesn't tell me what it is you're holding yourself back from or who, but it is saying you're the only thing stopping you. Go for it, and it will be yours. Dark Dog says, it's a myth that people can't read in their dreams. Only difficulty I've ever had reading in a dream is the same difficulty I have with dreams in general. They change in mid-step. I'll be home 1 minute, I'll walk through the bathroom door, and I'm in a big city somewhere. Same with text. I'll be reading an Anne Rice book and turn a page, and it's a math textbook all of a sudden. Or I'm on one sentence, and the next sentence or rest of the sentence is something completely unrelated to the first part. I once hit $100 on the lottery by playing a number I read in a dream. So yeah, you can read in your dreams. Well, that's promising. That should make us all exciting and maybe make us all hew a little bit tonight. Melissa, in 2014, added her thoughts. I have read in my dreams a handful of times. Each time they led to scary situations. The one I had last night freaked me out. In my dream, I was visiting a plastic surgeon to have a procedure done, an expensive one. So the surgeon offered me a group study, which read something along the lines of travel to these beautiful 6 Indian cities, which were blurred, and I did not know how to pronounce. A few started with the letter M and one with P. It said, enjoy the relaxation of driving and the scenery. I was instantly confused, and then I fell into a forest as I was telling the surgeon that the only thing that bothered me about India were that they had too many poisonous snakes. I was trapped in a dark wooded forest, trying to get out. The path led to fog. I was frightened in my dream. When I finally reached the end of the path, I looked up. The sky was black and full of stars. It was a full moon, and right in front of me was a huge pyramid mountain. with a trail that led up. It had symbols all over it that glowed. I screamed, "Mom!" And behind me, 2 tall, naked, dark men, very primitive in nature, with sticks, grabbed me, and I woke up screaming. Elizabeth joined in the discussion in 2015. Wow, this is really interesting. I've been able to read in my dreams since I was little and thought it was weird when I heard that it should be impossible to read in your dreams. I'm an avid reader, so I always equated it to that. But now that I read your post, I'm not so sure. I've also heard that you should be unable to see your reflection in dreams, which I've seen before as well. This is kind of odd for me, though, because I avoid looking in mirrors when I'm awake. Most of the time when I look in a mirror in a dream, it's when I'm playing a character, someone that's not me. And when I look into the mirror, I see myself. I never think anything of it, and the dream goes on without interruption. The reason I'm here is because of another reading dream last night. Generally, every time I remember a dream, I remember everything about it. Faces, places, feelings, everything, and they're always very vivid. I was a little boy of about 8 with brown hair and big blue eyes in a decrepit sort of post-apocalyptic society where no one remembers anything before being there. I was told I was found in a shopping mall a few days before on a scavenger mission, but I don't remember. I talked to a lot of people, though my character is very shy, and remember talking to this tall, willowy girl of around 20, older than me in real life, with creamy red hair and blue eyes with a soft face, and her friend with short blonde hair and brown eyes with a slender face and big nose, who both worked in the nursery, which I liked. The part I remember most was when the 2 women and I were walking in the cafeteria when I saw that they had mac and cheese. I had something in my hand, a piece of coarse paper that I was planning to write on, when I started to climb onto the tray counter and over that glass protector, staring at the mac and cheese. I stopped when I noticed the man on the other side gaping at me, and the 2 women telling me to get down before I hurt myself. I dropped what I was holding, my plate, my paper, and ran. Next thing I know, I'm the commander of the society with a rough, leathery face, brown hair that's turning gray, wide shoulders, and very short for his position. He was an army man to the T. He was called in to the cafeteria by the chief cook interrupting his lunch. I asked the man that had gaped at the boy on his way out what could be so important. And then he lifted in one hand the piece of paper I had dropped and scratched on it with a thumbnail in a child's writing was a single word: joy. I had remembered something, my mother making me mac and cheese while we sat down at the table and told each other about our day. And when the commander saw it, he remembered too. The last thing I remember is the sudden anger of the commander toward the boy, almost like he wanted to kill him. Then I woke up. This is not unusual in its vividness and the way the story progresses, but I don't usually get just one word, and nobody had any names, which is unusual. Anyway, thanks for letting me share. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. I was pretty impressed with her very Hollywood-like dream, and in the comments, I asked her if she journaled or documented them. Here was her response. Yes, I love to journal, but I can never get through even a fraction of the dream because of how much information and details I end up trying to write down. It becomes very taxing. I think dreaming this way must be because of the way I read, imagining every detail, hearing each sound, seeing every sight, and feeling each sensation from the character's own head. It takes a little longer to read this way, but it's akin to, say, a holodeck in Star Trek. I have no clue what that is, by the way. Even better than watching a movie or playing a role-playing video game. It would be really interesting to know if anyone else does this, or if anyone is going to try to read this way. I didn't even know I read differently than anyone else until I talked to a friend about a book I was reading. Interesting the way each person's brain works so differently. Also in 2015, John left the comment, Until last night, I had never been able to read coherently in my dreams. I found myself in a sort of priest tunic, resembling those donned by Catholic clergymen, maybe because I went to Catholic masses as a kid, walking into a small church. On one of the walls, there was a banner with writings on it. I came closer, and I identified that it was written in 2 different languages. The first one, on the top half, was either Latin or Italian, written in a bold font and semi-cursive way. I could make out the letters, but not the words' meaning, although they did seem familiar. On the bottom half, written in Spanish, this I know because it's my mother tongue, was what seemed to be the translation. I could read and understand the words in my dream, but now, as I am awake, I can't recall what those were. Also in 2015, Misty says, I recently visited Louisiana, New Orleans, purchased various items of protection. I treat my dolls precious as they carry spiritual energy. Lucid dreams come naturally, as do other things, but never words. This night was clear words in the dream, on a stranger's cell phone, with a light purple back color, and I testify it read, No cold hands in heaven made me feel as warm as you did when you touched me. I woke up immediately. The only time I can clearly recall the depth and detail of the writing. Wow. In 2015, Memory Jogger, who many of us know as Diana in the parlor on Facebook, she says, Ex-sleepwalker, I remember a lot of my dreams, usually very colorful and vivid. I know I can read in them too. Once I had such a vivid dream, movie credits rolled up over us. Not sure if I experience visitations. However, I am one of those people who regularly wake up from a light sleep and see people next to my bed or objects hovering over me. Used to freak me out. Not sure if that is anything other than some sleep-induced illusion, but tippy nonetheless. Sparkle in 2015 says, I recently had a dream that I was having a party at this hall that I rented. It was weird. I wanted to invite some extra friends over, so I went out to find the address. After I spotted it at the top of the building, I began to text it to my friends number by number, word by word. Creepy. Summit in 2015 says, I recently had a dream in which one of my friends asked me to remove my specs. Then I did so. He asked me to read something, and amazingly, I was able to read full A to Z written on that board. Moses Frost in 2016 says, I am very capable of reading in my dreams, even though there are hundreds of articles telling me I can't. Just last night, I dreamed that I took an entire multiple choice test on driving a car, and I could read every word of it. I have a friend that told me he read a 2-paragraph email about a wrestling championship. So my friend and I, along with all of the people commenting on this blog, pretty much defy the laws of dreaming. Alec, in 2016, says, I have been having dreams like you lately, except mine are more dark. I have been dreaming of men with signs saying things like, God is near, or just dreaming of the world burning sometimes. In those dreams, I'm always there watching and always live just to wake up. This really bothers me. I hate it, and I lose sleep. Well, Alec's dream totally reminded me of another dream I blogged about years ago. It was an apocalypse dream in which I burned up with everything else on the planet, only it was strangely pleasant. Not painful at all. It was just a bit scary, though. In episode 33 of the podcast, on April 16th, 2015, I interviewed Karen Burton on the topic of dream interpretation. I wanted to include this clip of her response after I asked if she ever read in her dreams. Where you're reading in your dreams? And what's that mean?
Well, I do, but I remember a lot of my dreams and journal a lot of them because I've had dreams that I felt were messages or communications from the other side, which I know we're going to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep track of them. I think we don't need to read in our dreams, so we usually don't. The language of dreaming is symbols, so we don't need letters. But when people do remember them, I always encourage them to write them down. The same is true with numbers, actual numbers, like seeing a street sign with a number on it. And my advice is usually pretty simple. It's like, start looking. Look for that word, look for that number, pay attention, because your subconscious and or the other side has told you to be on the lookout for that. So most people are able to know when it enters into their waking world. They're like, oh yeah, that's right. I dreamed that, or I saw that, or that number is important. And it's able to give them, a small guidance or information that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
And I think I've heard some people say that if you, and I could be wrong, I'm trying to remember this, if you do end up reading in your dream and you're consciously, realizing you're reading, that maybe that's a sign of being lucid and being in a lucid situation.
Any time that you're aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming is considered a lucid dream.
Oh, okay.
And those dreams are an opportunity for us to steer a little bit. If we're aware that we're dreaming and we can keep from waking up, which actually improves with practice, then we can ask ourselves or our visitors questions in the dream itself. But unfortunately, most of the time when we become aware that we're dreaming, that's usually the trigger that wakes us up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a wonderful tool for tapping into a kind of guidance that you can't get from a book.
If you're into dreams and you haven't heard that episode, I highly recommend you check it out. So I'll include the link in the show notes.
You're listening to the Big Séance podcast with Patrick Keller. Look for us on iTunes and be sure to check out bigseance.com for more discussion.
So I checked out a page, lifehack.org's 20 amazing facts about dreams that you might not know about. That's what it was titled. And fact number 1 says, you can't read while dreaming or tell the time. Now that fact is kind of misleading because right under it says, if you are unsure whether you are dreaming or not, try reading something. The vast majority of people are incapable of reading in their dreams. The same goes for clocks. Each time you look at a clock, it will tell a different time, and the hands on the clock won't appear to be moving as reported by lucid dreamers. Well, are you about dreamed out today? Let's go to Tim Prossel with another Spectral Edition.
Welcome to the audio version of Spectral Edition. I'm Tim Prossel. I've got an article here that really just doesn't seem to fit the pattern of the many, many ghost reports that I've been finding. In fact, I'm kind of hesitant to call it a ghost report at all, even though the headline reads, "Sees Ghost in the Woods. Beautiful woman robed in white follows and beckons him." It was published on June 1st of 1907 in the Richmond Planet from Richmond, Virginia, and it reads like this. Coleraine, Minnesota. Polish settlers in the country east of here are in a state of excitement over the alleged discovery of a werewolf, which takes the shape of a beautiful woman garbed in a long white robe, and whom the superstitious believe is seeking men's souls. Milan Pravorsko, a homesteader, says that while he was walking to his claim through the woods recently, a woman dressed in a long white robe appeared. She followed him about 10 paces in the rear and constantly beckoned to him. When he stopped, the woman also stood motionless, and when, terror-stricken, he took to his heels, the werewolf kept close behind him. At last, in desperation, he stopped and hurled a huge stone at the mysterious form, which instantly vanished. He describes the woman as about the ordinary height, with long raven-black hair, which hung down over her shoulders, reaching below the waistline. The face, which was intensely pale, nevertheless was beautiful. and eyes that seemed like liquid fire. Some of the settlers who listened to Pravorsco's tale were inclined to disbelieve it, but he has found many others who have implicit faith in his tale. Those who have doubted the story have traversed the path at all hours of the night without encountering the weird spectacle. So what was it? Was it a ghost? Was it a werewolf? Was it a vampire? I just don't know. All I know is this is the audio version of Spectral Edition. I'm Tim Prossel. I have close to 300 of these articles, all authentic ghost reports published in U.S. newspapers between the years of 1865 and 1918. I post one each Wednesday on my website, and the website is called The Merry Ghost Hunter. I hope you stop by.
Thanks for joining us for the Big Séance podcast. We'd better get back to the table while there's still some candlelight left.
Before I leave you today, I want to give a shout out to Erin C., who left a review in the New Zealand iTunes store, my first review there. She says, "Keep up the great work, Patrick. Can't help but binge listen." Special thanks goes out to Jennifer King, who just shared her time and expertise and willingly helped me out with a special request. I've had a lot of Twitter love and retweets lately, and so a big thank you goes out to all paranerds on Twitter that are sharing and promoting the Big Séance podcast. And finally, I hope to see some of you in just a few hours, actually, at the Haunted America Conference in Alton, Illinois. You know you're going to hear more about this when I return. Peace out, paranerds. For show notes, including links to anything we may have mentioned in this episode, visit bigseance.com. Just click on the Big Séance podcast logo or find it in the menu. You can also find and subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and we've just been added to the Google Play Music Store. Do you have any comments or feedback? Go to bigseance.com/feedback to learn how to get your voice in a future show. Or you can call my feedback line at 7755-TELL-ME. That's 775-583-5563. Interested in learning how to promote and share the podcast? Go to bigseance.com/share. Thank you so much for listening. Unfortunately, it's time to blow the candles out, but we'll see you and light them again next time.